question that we had from Jeff in the inbox. It was for the Late Kick Extra podcast, but as you know, sometimes I select some of those questions to use on the regular Late Kick Live, which you're watching right now. And he asked this. He said, why do all these kids commit to Alabama knowing Nick Saban's about to retire? Well, my simple answer is I don't think he's anywhere close to retirement. Now, that's my simple answer. Obviously, they don't think so either. Here's what I think a lot of folks are guilty of. Jeff, maybe you included, brother. A lot of folks apply convention to very unconventional situations. Nick Saban is not conventional. Nick Saban is however old he is, 68, 67 years old, however old he is. I know his birthday's on Halloween, I think. I told the story one time. I don't know if it was on this show, but I told the story on the podcast one time just to show you how unconventional he is if you're not already sold on it. There was a grad assistant that I knew that was working at Alabama. Now, this kid's in his early 20s. This was recently. It was fairly recently. So Saban's in his mid-60s at that point. And he said, you know, the one thing that's going to separate me is I'm going to be able to get to the building every day before he gets there, and I'm going to leave after him. So he's going to notice that, and that's how I'm going to get ahead. It sounds like a foolproof plan, by the way. And I said, more power to you. Good for you, man. 2 weeks. I kid you not. 2 weeks go by. And it was like he went on a diet that he couldn't sustain. He said, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't make it, man. He said, I made it about 4 or 5 days. And at that point, I couldn't keep those hours. This is a grad assistant. He's not tasked with doing everything Saban does. He said, getting there that early and staying there that late, even if I was a zombie from the hours of 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., just sitting at my desk drooling on my shirt, I still couldn't do it. So this man's doing it and operating at a machine-like capacity all day. It's not conventional. So don't apply the typical late 60-year-old convention to Nick Saban. He's not really a human in that sense. He's more a machine in that sense. But aside from that, I just ask, what's the argument? It's one thing if you want Alabama to fade away. I'm not asking that, okay? If you're not a Bama fan, of course you're rooting for that. But I'm asking, if you truly believe that that's happening or about to happen, what evidence are you looking at? And so I asked that to Jeff, and I asked that to a lot of other people who ask variations of this question. And here's what I get. What I get is, well, they're fading. They haven't been as good lately. What are we talking about? Last year, you're talking about last year where they lost the quarterback, and but really defensive and offensive quarterbacks, if you count Dylan Moses. And they went to the Verbo Citrus Bowl, which was the first time I learned what Verbo was. So I guess that's why you buy naming rights to a bowl game. Oh, that's the fade? Is that the fade? I don't think that's the fade, guys. But I guess by their standards it is. And then the other thing is just they go to his age. And I think I just knocked that down like a piñata. He's 68 years old right now. I should have looked at my notes. I wrote his age down in my own notes. And that's only relevant if he is showing age. He's 68 and he outworks people who are 48. So what if the 68-year-olds run in circles around the 48-year-olds? Do you really care about the age all that much? I don't think a lot of these kids that commit to Alabama that you're talking about really care either. Consider what we have going on up there right now. What we've seen as of late, and this, even if you were on the fence, which I'm not suggesting he has been, but even if you were on the fence, you talk about wanting to be reinvigorated. The overhaul they've had in their sports science and strength and conditioning department, to be honest with you, has been unlike anything I've ever seen. You don't normally hear this much noise about sports science and strength and conditioning. Everyone I talk to at Alabama raves about this stuff. I can't even get returns on players because all they want to talk about is, guess what this dude David Ballew's doing? Guess what this Dr. Matt Ray's doing up here? And so I listen. A lot of it goes over my head because a sports scientist I am not. Sounds good, sounds impressive, but they have unveiled a new sports science center there. They've got what they think is the best sports and strength and conditioning duo in the country in there. So you've overhauled your strength and conditioning. You just signed the #1 quarterback in America in Bryce Young. You signed probably one of, if not the most impressive edge rushing classes that I've ever seen in that same recruiting cycle last year. Their current class, they are loading up on wide receivers again. They may sign the best offensive line class that you've ever seen, if not the best, easily one of the very best. And so I'm trying to look for signs because I want to see them. Trust me, I don't want to be made a fool of. I want to see them if you've got them. I just don't think you have them. I think a lot of people have fatigue, which is natural. I think a lot of people want to see it happen, which is natural. But there is a big difference between wants and beliefs. And I don't know how any rational person can look at Alabama right now and believe that they're going to be anything other than a contender for the next several years. So what I'm saying is, if this company will just put 4 or 5 stars next to my name, they'll offer me, and I'll commit tomorrow. You don't want to go there, I'll go there.